In this video, I'll show you how to implement 2 smoke zones using our FlexiSmoke panel. For the installation, we need the FlexiSmoke WSC520 panel, 2 actuators representing the 2 smoke zones, the WLA331 rain sensor, 2 WSK501 brake glass units, 2 WSK103 manual override switches, a cable gland set, 2 WSA310 smoke detectors, and the end module for the alarm signal from the fire alarm system. I start by opening the box of the FlexiSmoke panel. I use the key that you can find glued to the product to open the panel. On the door on the inside, you can find the control panel labels in different languages and the drawings of the layout of the panel. Inside the panel, you have the instruction manual, end modules for cable surveillance, and 10 kilo-ohm resistors. I'm now starting the installation. The first thing to do is to connect the 2 actuators. The first actuator I want to run in MotorLink mode. The MotorLink module is placed in the slot S4, therefore I'll connect the actuator on S4X1, the white in X1-1, the green in X1-2, and the brown in X1-3. The second actuator I want to run in standard 24-volt mode. In this case, I use a junction box. On this side of the junction box, I've connected the cable from the control panel. All 3 cable cores need to be connected to the junction box. On the other side, I've connected the cable end module in all 3 terminals. I've also connected the cable from the actuator, but only the plus and minus cable cores, brown and white. The third cable core is not connected. Now I'll connect it to the panel in the standard motor module, slot S5. I connect the cable cores in the same order as the other actuator. White into terminal X11, green into terminal X12, and brown into terminal X13. The WLA331 rain sensor. We open the box and inside we find the installation manual, the fixture for fixing the rain sensor on the roof, and the sensor itself. I open the sensor. And inside we find the screws to close it, the terminals to connect it, and the dip switches to configure it. I've prepared the rain sensor for the installation. I've mounted a 10 kilo-ohm resistor on terminal 3 and 4 in order to be able to monitor the cable from the sensor back to the controller. I'm connecting the rain sensor on S1. The power is coming from S1X3, and you need to make sure to connect it to the 24-volt and not the 24-volt UPS, because we don't want the rain sensor to get power from the batteries if the mains fail. 0 volt is connected to terminal S1X33 plus 24 volt to terminal S1X32 and the signal to terminal S1X21. The WSK501 brake glass unit. I take the brake glass unit out of the box. There's also an installation manual and the break glass unit labels in different languages. I remove the key from the back and use it to open the break glass unit. Inside, we see a label with the serial ID of the product that can be used later to identify this unit. The WSK103 manual override switch. Inside, we find the installation manual, the cable, and the switch itself. The WSA310 smoke detector. I take it out of the bag. Inside, we have the installation manual and the smoke detector itself. I remove the plastic on top. This is how it looks inside. I've connected all these peripherals together as follows. First, the cable from controller that is connected to the first break glass unit. The first break glass unit has a smoke sensor connected to it through this cable. I have also connected the first break glass unit to the second break glass through this cable. The second break glass unit has a manual override switch connected to it. The connection of the first break glass unit. The cable from the controller to the first break glass unit is connected to terminal 1, 2 and 3. The cable from the first break glass unit to the second is connected to terminals 4, 5 and 6, and the cable to the smoke sensor is connected to terminal 7 and 8. On the second break glass unit, we have the following connections. The cable from the first break glass unit to terminals 1, 2 and 3. I've mounted a resistor on terminal 7 and 8 because I don't have any smoke sensor connected to this break glass unit. And the manual override switch is connected to terminals 9, 10 and 11. The cable from the first break glass unit to the controller needs to be connected to S2X1. The cable cores are connected like this: brown to X11, blue to X12 and black to X13. I'll now connect a second smoke detector directly to the control panel. We can connect many smoke detectors, one to each other, but on the last one we must mount a 10 kilo ohm resistor in order to be able to monitor the smoke detectors. I connect the smoke detector to the I/O module at S3X1. Next, I'll connect the end module that represents the signal coming from the fire alarm system. When doing that, we need to connect WSA306 module at the end of the cable where it is connected to the fire alarm system. This is the cable going to the controller, and these are the terminals connecting to the fire alarm system. Here we connect it to the system. I connect it to S3X2 1 and 3. I want to use the second manual override switch in smoke zone 1. So I choose to connect it on S4X5, same slot where I've connected the first actuator, but any of the available local inputs will do. Open command is connected to X51. Closed command to X52 and the common on X53. I'm now ready to connect the mains power cable. I'll connect it on S1, the phase on X52 and the neutral on X51. Now I'll connect the batteries. Place them inside the panel and I connect them to each other through the red cable, one end to the red terminal on one of the batteries and the other to the black terminal on the other battery. There are two cables from the control panel that need to be connected to the batteries. The black cable is connected to the remaining black terminal. I'll wait with connecting the red cable to the remaining red terminal until after I've powered the panel. I now connect the mains and the remaining cable to the batteries. The installation is complete. I'm now ready to configure the 2 smoke zones. The first thing to do is to log on to the panel with level 3. I press the key button and insert the default pin code 4321. I enter the configuration menu. I start with the configuration of the actuators. I press the motor line button. I have 2 motor lines connected. The first one that runs in motor link mode is connected at S4X1. Expected number of motors. I want the panel to discover the actuator, so I select Discover. We wait for the panel to detect the actuator. Now the actuator is detected, the panel found one. I want to associate this actuator with motor group 1. I select 1. We can test the motor line from the screen. We go into the manual operation menu and select motor line, then S4X1. We select manual relative position, and from here we can give the following commands to the actuator. Open, stop, and close to check that it's running. The rest of the motor lines in S4 are not used, so I need to go into each of them and select None as expected number of actuators. I do this so I don't get error indications. S5X1 is the terminal where I've installed the second actuator running in standard mode. It's now configured the no cable monitoring, but I've installed the cable and module, so I want to monitor the cable to make sure that there are no errors. I do this by selecting 3-wire cable monitoring option. Next, I have to set the stroke time to the time it takes to this specific window to reach a fully open position. In my case now, the stroke time is 40 seconds. Now I'm going to associate this motor line with a motor group. I select Motor Group and select 2 in order to associate it to Motor Group 2. To test that it's working, we go again into the Manual Operation menu and select Motor Line, then S5X1. We select Manual Relative Position, and from here we can command the actuator to open, stop, and close. Next, I'm going to configure the motor groups. Motor Group 1 is the group associated with the actuator connected at S4X1. I will associate this motor group to Smoke Zone 1. Motor Group 2, where I have the motor line from S5X1. I want to associate this group to Smoke Zone 2. Back to the configuration menu. I continue with the configuration of the brake glass unit. I select WSK link. As you can see here, the panel already detected the 2 brake glass units that I connected earlier. We see that there is an error indication at All. I select All and can see that the bus topology is by default set to ring. I didn't install a ring connection, so I must change it to No. We notice that the error indication has disappeared. When the brake glass units are detected by the controller but are not configured yet, the yellow LED is blinking. Once configured, the yellow LED will turn off and the green LED will turn on. In order to distinguish between the brake glass units on the panel, I press the Reset button on one of the brake glass units. You can see a blue circle on number 2. Another way to distinguish the brake glass units from each other is to set the unit beep to Yes. When I do that, the specific brake glass unit starts to beep, so I can identify which one it is. I want to associate the brake glass unit number 2 with the smoke zone number 2, so I press Associated Smoke Zone button and select 2. I do a similar configuration for the brake glass unit number 1, which I associate with the smoke zone 1. This brake glass unit has a smoke detector connected. In the configuration menu, for brake glass unit plus sensor 1 smoke zone, I change the configuration from Not Used to Same Smoke Zone. Back to the configuration menu. The smoke zone configuration is pre-configured, so if you don't need anything special to configure, the default setting is fine. Next, local input. If you remember from the installation, we have the following peripherals connected directly to the control panel: the rain sensor, the smoke detector, the fire alarm signal, and the manual override switch. At S3X1, I have connected the smoke detector. I associate it with smoke zone 2. On smoke zone 1, we have the smoke detector connected to the brake glass unit. I'm now going to give it a function in the controlled smoke zone. The function I want to give is line B, which is second priority, where line A is highest priority. The next peripheral at S3X2-1 is the signal from the fire alarm system. I want both smoke zones to react when a fire alarm signal is detected, so I select both Zone 1 and Zone 2. The function that I will select in this case is line C, a third priority. Down the list, I select Thresholds configuration. Since I have connected the WSA306 at the end module, I must configure it to Type 1 Surveillance instead of the default Switch. Now if the cable is broken, I'll get an error indication. The next peripheral, the manual override switch, is connected on S4X5. I want to associate this to motor line 1, motor group 1. The function that I want on it is open. The short output function, I select it to be stop. S4X5-2, I associate again to motor group 1 and select the function to be close, and the short output function to be stop. The last input to be configured is the input for the rain sensor. It's connected to the S1X2. I select S1X2-1 and I associate it to the two smoke zones, Zone 1 and Zone 2. The function I selected to be Comfort Safety, which means that safety has higher priority than manual command, but lower than fire alarm. Just like with the WSA 306, I must configure it to Type 1 surveillance instead of the default switch. Now, if the cable is broken, I'll get an error indication. The panel is now ready for operation. Lastly, we operate the panel to check that the installation and the configuration is done correctly. I start with Zone 1. I press the red button on the brake glass unit. We see that the actuator on motor line 1 is opening. The red LED is on, and on the panel itself the red LED and on the display Zone 1 is marked in red. I press the reset and everything goes back to normal operation and the actuator is closing. I'll now try the manual override switch. Long press on open and the actuator starts to open. Short press on any of the buttons to stop. And long press on the close button to close. Testing the Zone 2. I press the red button on the second brake glass unit and the red LEDs on the brake glass unit and panel are on. Zone 2 is marked in red on the display and we also see that the actuator is responding by opening. I press the reset button on the brake glass unit and the panel is going back to normal operation and the actuator is closing. I'll now test the normal operation. I press the open button on the manual override switch and the actuator is opening. Short press to stop. And long press on the close button to close the actuator. I'll now test the fire alarm system. I activate the signal by connecting the cable, and we see that both zones are in alarm. Both actuators are opening. On the display of the panel, both zones are highlighted in red, and all red LEDs are on. When I remove the contact, everything goes back to normal operation and the actuators are closing. Last test, the rain sensor. In order to show that the actuator is reacting, I need to open it. I open the actuator in Zone 1 and Zone 2. Now I activate the rain sensor by putting my hand on it. We see that the actuators start closing and the rain sensor input button on the display is highlighted. The 2 smoke zone system is working perfectly and it's ready for use.